Okay, I want to thank everybody for giving us a little bit of time this afternoon. Um, Today, we're going to talk about the supply chain crisis and what that means to small business as far as traditional methods of purchasing hardware and how that will impact today and the future. So the webinar is about roughly going to be about 30 minutes, probably from a presentation standpoint, about 20. I always leave quite a bit of time at the end so we can have a dialogue back and forth with any questions that anyone has. So if you have any, please type them in the questions box, and at the end of the presentation, we'll get to those. My name is Tyler Bauer. I am the Director of Cloud and Hosting Services for Cloud at Work. We focus on delivering virtual private cloud solutions for Sage end users to deliver the absolute best Sage experience for Sage partners and its customers. Let's start off today kind of just looking at a kind of wide lens, if you will, of where we're at. So if you think in reverse about 5 to 10 years ago, right, we were using technology, but certainly fast forward to today, we're not using it as often and as frequently and in as much kind of horsepower as we were in the past. So now more than ever, we're relying on tech to move our business forward, no matter what we're doing. So whether that's remote connectivity, through COVID, a lot of employees now work from home. This has put different strains on the data center, or the quote unquote normal data center of being on-prem. You know, most data centers on premise were built for LAN or local connection. Flip that on its head and have everybody outside of the office connecting in. You need different types of technology and different types of solutions to have that work securely, have that work efficiently, and not lose production. We're all demanding faster speeds, no matter if we're working from our phone, our tablet, if we're working from home, if we're working on the road, or even if we're working in the office. We want things to work smoother and faster. And that hunger isn't going to slow down, especially with younger generations coming in. We're consuming and using more data. We're interacting with data centers more now than we ever have in the past. And this happens across the board throughout our business and personal lives. So with more data comes more performance hindrance and more investment into securing, storing, and performing with that data. Mobile technology and mobile access is certainly at its highest peak point today. If any of you have young children like I do, I have to pry the phone from their hands at times. But even in our professional lives, we're constantly looking at our Apple Watch or looking at our phone and getting updates real time as we're on the road or doing other tasks. As far as in-person meetings, Cloud at Work is an exclusively remote organization and has been since inception. So we've been incorporated and built culture around our Teams and Zoom capabilities. But for a lot of companies, this is new, right? Really having the foundation of their collaboration and of their culture live within a video conferencing tool. We are constantly urging for on-demand results, whether that's seeing something real time on my phone or being able to on-demand want to pivot or look at things differently, whether that's within our applications or within the capabilities or constructs of our infrastructure. And the applications that we're consuming, the newer versions or the applications that we're bringing in, whether that's SaaS or on-premise, are more powerful. Because our demands are more powerful, the manufacturers are making more powerful technology for us. Now, what happens when these capabilities slow down? They break or stop working, or they don't work as they're intended. I think all of us in this room have either had like a little pivot or a little bit of a downturn while working remotely or while something's happening in the office, and it causes a whole bunch of different feelings. Some of them are constructed with 4-letter words, but we certainly don't want this. And where we're going with all of these different variables is it's putting more and more pressure, more and more risk on ourselves that maybe we don't need to. So when we look at all of those different components and we look at the technology and how we're using it, how it's increasing at these different variables, as well as we have more of a thirst to not have anything go wrong, this is creating a very unique situation in this time today that's never happened before. Because along with all of that, we have this thirst for more. Now we're saying that in order the normal way that maybe we've done business for 10, 20 years, we can't continue at that same pace. So for instance, today, PC chips are not available. The reason for that, one main reason for that, is during COVID, the car industry is a major consumer of computer chips. One car, in fact, can consume as many as 300 to 400 different chips within that. And when COVID happened, the production of cars went down significantly. So we're seeing that type of ripple, if you will, in our IT lives now. So at Cloud at Work, for example, we spend a lot of money on infrastructure for our 3 data centers, both in Canada and the US. And our lead times for certain pieces of equipment are anywhere from 6 to 12 months. So it's not a purchasing power thing. It's not a, I'm spend more money so I can get these things before everyone else, although as they become released, that will happen. But it's more of a lead time management thing. And really, how deep are your pockets to plan for those lead times and supply chain issues, as well as breakage and so forth. So now for the normal organizations today, lead times for new equipment can be as much as 12 to 18 months. And as well, if you think that we can go to the secondary market, similar to the used car market, we're seeing 30 to 40% price increases in that secondary market. And those secondary market pieces of equipment come with no warranties from the manufacturer, and as well are used, right? Combine that with all of our thirst for more, and PC server usage is increased since 2021 by an average of 30%. And there's no way to tell where that end is in sight. And I'm sure all of you are aware of current events with what's driving the world's economy and the world's collaboration there. So there's really no end in sight. So what does this mean for us? Well, in the traditional data center, when we would buy infrastructure, we would purchase this infrastructure, and I call it kind of easy bake oven, or set it and forget it. We would purchase this infrastructure and put it in the data center, expect to either get a life cycle of 3 to 5 years out of that infrastructure, and we would have warranties in place, and as well, maybe some breakage budgeted in to that life cycle. But today, if something breaks or something goes wrong, or maybe our needs change and we find that magic bullet that can set us forward 3 years in production, if we can only get this more powerful app or add this one ISV or bolt-on to make our business move better, faster, stronger, it's going to take 12 to 18 months to get a new one. Now, I don't know about you, but certainly, every business has experienced downtime at some point, but 12 to 18 months is I don't know of any business that can respond from that or recover from that. You're going to pay 30 to 40% more if you want to adjust to the secondary market, and as well, employees and users are unwilling to bend from the experience that they already have. So they're only looking to get more. They're not looking to go backwards. And so what a lot of companies are doing, especially right now today as we're speaking, is bad things are happening in their normal business technology and their infrastructure lives, and they're snap reacting to cloud services. And when that happens, things get into a chaotic stir. Now, while the cloud certainly is a place that scales and eliminates risk for business, and certainly is somewhere that all businesses should be evaluating for certain parts of their business, snap reacting to anything as business leaders is never a good practice. So the entire time while we're trying to figure out this next step, we're unable to be productive, and we have extreme risk of the unknown, and extreme risk of the here and now. So there's steps that we can take to solve this problem. We are in an issue state. We can go and buy more stuff proactively. So we can say, yeah, we recognize that we have single points of failure. We'll manage the lead times ourselves. We'll invest into buying more things, knowing that we can't get them for 12 to 18 months possibly. But the caveat to that is, what if technology changes or your business changes in 12 to 18 months? Now your business from a foundational infrastructure perspective is operating on a 12 to 18 month lag time. Never really a good practice to have. Well, a lot of companies could say, well, we're investing in disaster recovery. And while that is certainly a way to solve for breakage, unfortunately, most SMB and mid-market companies are investing in DR the wrong way, meaning it can be there in a pinch and certainly can get you operational, meaning you can access infrastructure, but most folks aren't buying high performance infrastructure for a DR solution. They're not looking to run their business for elongated periods of time out of that DR solution, and most don't understand the cost to do so. And then the third is to explore migrating to the cloud. So let's dive into each one of those. So with buying more things, we mentioned you'll need to manage purchase lead times more efficiently. So that puts you in the business of really being a data center purchaser, right? Being an IT evaluator, IT purchaser. And you'll need to buy more things to fill the single points of failure gaps and to create redundancy, and at the same time solve for technology, not only in the here and now, but for the future. You'll need to spend for the future. It's going to be more expensive, and we're going to need to account for that inflation. With infrastructure, unlike like a gallon of gas, or I know it's a sore topic right now, but a gallon of gas or a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk, we'll see those go up over years, right? If we see inflation, they'll go up, but eventually they'll come back down, hopefully. With infrastructure and servers, we see them going up at the rate of inflation, but they never come back down. Once a manufacturer knows that they can get that price, it might slow as far as what it's increasing or inflating, but it's never going to reverse. So we're always going to pay more. And we're still in the business of managing and securing. So obviously people are becoming harder and harder to retain and to recruit. Security is one of our main topics that we're going to be doing a webinar in the future. That becomes its own challenge in its own right. And these pressures, along with the thirst to do more with technology, continues to grow and grow and grow. So certainly it's an option that you can choose as a business, but you need to understand those risk points and understand those caveats. The second is, okay, we're going to take what we have. Maybe we fill a couple of gaps, but look, we're okay with that risk. We don't necessarily need the Taj Mahal within our data center. So we're going to take that money, and instead of filling every gap possible within our production environment, we're going to invest heavily into DR. Well, most companies are going to look at a Datto, for instance, or an InfraScale. Maybe some of you use those solutions today. Datto and InfraScale are phenomenal, right? They provide a device that resides on premise. That device has the capability to fail over locally, and then as well replicates out to the cloud. However, when you're in a disaster scenario, and if your business is mature enough where you're using different types of applications, there's still an event where you need to get people connected, and as well get people connected securely. That's the first phase. The second phase is, once you're running in their cloud environments, typically they're not built for high performing applications. We've had multiple customers who were coming to our cloud who had a DR event locally at their site, and they were running at the time of migration out of a Datto or an InfraScale. One big piece or urgency to get to cloud at work was because they weren't able to do certain parts of their production. because it was too high pressure, highly involved for that infrastructure to run. So the other piece is, well, we could have AWS or Microsoft Azure. Obviously, they're the two largest cloud companies in the world. We can use them for disaster recovery. And certainly that is the case. The challenge isn't going to be to using AWS or Azure. The challenge is going to be building that environment efficiently, maintaining it for cost efficiently, managing it, and being able to deploy it in a DR event. So most folks go out and look for a management company to insert there. When they start to look at those pieces quickly, your dollar signs can add up, and sometimes even it's cheaper to just move your entire production to the cloud in some cases. Or you could go invest in a co-location facility, but that still puts you in the hardware business. You now need to manage lead times and purchase hardware for two separate locations. There's still inefficiencies in production. Certainly nobody, even though you have a DR plan, nobody wants to be using it. It's there really as an insurance policy. And we just need to ask ourselves, how efficiently can we run our business and for how long in that DR site? And the third is cloud computing. And this is a general statement. This can mean a lot of different things. Now, cloud computing, there are layers to it or containers to it. There are many, many different types. You can look at AWS or Azure to run production. Typically, you're going to need help from an outside party to help you manage that or deploy that. You can look at service providers and virtual private providers like Cloud@Work, who have data centers across the US and Canada, build and manage these dedicated virtual private clouds for you. You can look at multi-tenant environments or hybrid shared environments. Now, these types of environments are much lower cost, but they come with a lot of risk, right? Of customers kind of intermingling, performance prohibiting, et cetera, et cetera. So the benefits of cloud in a general stance are they're scalable resources. They have built-in redundancy. So when we talk about scalable resources, tomorrow, if we found the magic bullet within an application to move our business 3 years ahead of schedule, and we can increase production and gain more profits with this bolt-on. In the traditional sense, if that required more infrastructure, you're kind of in a pinch, right? You have to figure that out, and you have to delay or slow down that process. With cloud, you can bolt on infrastructure, bolt on resources, bolt on capabilities in the snap of a finger. As far as redundancy goes, you're usually, not in all, but in most, and especially in Cloud@Work, you're living on multiple pieces of hardware at the same time. So your business isn't reliant upon the physical hardware. It's not even remotely going to be affected if one piece of hardware fails. It would just move to another section or another server or another SAN, etc. You're going to see enhanced performance capability. Again, that scales based on your needs or based on your wants. And as well, you're going to see typically enhanced security. A big myth is that to keep things on premise, you'll see more security because you have hands-on. And typically that's not the case because of not having the right redundancies in place or possibly even the right tools and monitoring. And you're out of the lead time business. You're out of the infrastructure purchasing business. So a lot of benefits there. A couple of things to recognize within cloud computing, which all of you know. Obviously now your business isn't focused on a local area network. You now are very much dependent on the wireless area network, but that transition is happening today at a very alarming rate just because of folks connecting in remotely to the data center today. So the question you have to ask yourself is, if my data center locally loses internet, my entire company can't work, or is the data center, which has 9 or 10 different internet providers going into it, going to fail? Which one would fail first? So just something to think about there. So please type in your questions. That is the end of the presentation. We went about 20 minutes, and I'm just trying to really get people thinking about these things in a proactive way. I never want to see customers react or be in a sense of urgency or panic, because then bad decisions can be made and snap decisions, which never are a good thing. So if I can urge you to do anything, no provider, including Cloud@Work, is going to know your business better than you do. So do the due diligence, begin the process of evaluation and planning, and figure out which path is the right one for you. And if there's anything that I can do to help you in that, please reach out. It's what I do every day for our partners and our customers. I want to thank you guys for your time. Let me see if we have any questions. I do have one question. The question is, how long do I think that this will be an issue? Wouldn't this solve for itself eventually? And the answer is yes. I mean, manufacturers are eventually going to get caught up, but for sure, this is going to impact us for the rest of 2022. So if there are any cycles that are happening in 2022, we should start planning now. And I think it could possibly go even longer than that, depending on again, that global economy and the collaboration there. Great question. The next question I have is around disaster recovery, and it mentions being able to run efficiently in a data-like scenario, and this customer is describing that they were very efficient there, and that's absolutely the case. The Datto Infrascale solution is definitely usable and can be used for quite some time. It's all about the application consumption and really the needs of your business that are going to determine whether or not that is the right fit. So certainly something we can help you do an evaluation of and help you walk through. I don't see any other questions. Let me just give it a second. Okay. Well, with that, I'll let everyone enjoy the rest of their day. Oh, I have one more here. Are you certified by Sage for hosting? Yes. So Cloud@Work is a certified Sage hosting provider, accredited Sage hosting provider, and we've gotten that both in Canada and in the US, and it's for Sage 100, Sage 300, and Sage X3. Yep. So we represent all of those products. Great question. Okay, well, I thank everyone for their time today. Thank you so much for being patient and listening. Again, if there's anything that I can do to help answer any questions, here's all of my contact info. But with that, I'll give everyone back some time in the day. Thank you so much.